Welcome to our weekly discussion series that is hosted by the Chaldean Cultural Center with collaboration of University of Michigan Detroit chapter and Unique Voices in Films. Today we have a very special guest, Jacob Bacall. He's an author and entrepreneur who has contributed a great deal to the Chaldean community, including the Chaldean Cultural Center. So we're especially excited to have him on today. Hi, Jacob.
Hi. Thank you for the introduction. That's very kind and really, enriching that to connect to the people from the community and certainly talk about the book and all the related issues.
Well, that's exactly what I'd love to talk to you about, because as a book lover myself and an author, we were talking about this before we went live, is that you have these couple of great books. One is Chaldeans in Detroit, which every time I see it when I'm in Barnes and Nobles, my heart gets very big. I love seeing our presence in that way. And there's a lot of reasons, the importance of that. But before we get into that, I'd like to learn a little bit about your journey from Iraq to the United States and what got you involved into writing this book.
Well, of course, I was born in Kiev, which is a small town in northern Iraq, to a Christian family. I'm Chaldean, born in 1955, and I have finished my high school and elementary school north of Iraq, and then finished my middle and high school in Baghdad. Then I went for my education to United Kingdom. I studied mechanical engineering in the UK, and I came to the United States end of December 1977, and pretty much got in business with my brother Eddie, who was here. He was here a few years earlier, and got married and have 4 children, now have 5 grandchildren. So have been here like 42 years in this country. And, being involved with the community, slowly things have, took interest in truly in the church activities, in the media and a newspaper at the time, which was Al-Mashraq. I used to be a frequent writer, not in English, but in Arabic. And my love to read is always was close to my heart, and read a lot. And a good reader, they say, will make a good writer. I don't know if that's true or not, but I certainly gave it a shot. And I did what I had to do, like I felt to document, record what I have known about the community, my connection. So then there came the Chaldeans in Detroit right after. So that was the first book. And, the interesting thing that I thought I just reminded me when you told me about this Barnes and Noble, the idea of writing a book about the community was very odd and out of place. I used to have the habit for years and years that every Saturday I'll take the time and go to Barnes and Noble and just kind of sit there for a couple hours and read and see what's, buy a book or two and continue reading, right? So I walked in one Saturday, that was in 2012, 2013. So I did find a big display, has a bunch of books, images of America at the top, and it's a bunch of books, Italian in America. Then I found the Maltese in America. Then I found another title, I think was Polish of Hamtramck. And I couldn't find one for our community. Truly, that made me feel very bad. So I bought 4 or 5 books from different kind and type. And I went and I didn't go to sleep until I finished 2 by 4:30. The very next day, I called the publisher. I said, I want to write a book about the Chaldean community. First of all, I think they were not clear who's Chaldean and why the Chaldean community and what makes you qualified to write a book. I told them about my that I'm a Chaldean, living in metropolitan Detroit, and I'm very active in the community, and I was, pretty much past president to the Chaldean Iraqi American Association in Michigan, and I'm active in other association as well. So you know what? They sent me the application, and I did fill it out, and they allowed me to write a book. So.
Well, everything you just said is really how what I experienced in the past when I came across a lot of racks written by certain communities, and we were always missing from the picture, and even when it was about, even if you want to even get more technical, even Iraqis are missing from the picture, let alone Chaldeans. So, but we have the largest population of Chaldeans living outside of the Middle East. And given the situation in the Middle East, many of us believe that we have the largest in the world. So it's our responsibility, it's our duty to write about that. I know you and I talked about this in the past, that if we don't do that, who's really going to represent us? And this is just how the way it goes. And to do that, we have to take the initiative. And that's what your story is about. It's taking the initiative rather than kind of complaining that we're missing from the picture. You've taken the initiative in many ways, whether it's in business or whether as an author, to tell our stories. And I think it was because of these kind of acts that other people have gotten involved in telling our stories, including Joe Grimm. He wrote the 100 questions and answers about Chaldeans. You wrote an introduction to that, correct? This was done sponsored by the Michigan State University, and you wrote the introduction. So now we have gone from trying to represent ourselves to being heard, and then others representing us as well, or at least sharing the knowledge that they found, because I have found, like, we started a mobile museum not too long ago, at the end of last year, and the schools were incredibly welcoming because they understand the value of what we're teaching. Aside from the Chaldeans themselves, the kids wanting to learn about who we are, the non-Chaldeans are interested too, because you're talking about Mesopotamia, you're talking about the cradle of civilization.
Correct. So, to start with that, certainly it's close to my heart for me to see people who are take interest in the community, and Professor Grimm is one of them. I remember him, when he started telling me my next book will be about the Chaldeans, and he was asking questions and simply collecting some information about the early Chaldeans, and of course he got a copy of my book, and it was a very really I'm grateful to his efforts that he has taken the efforts and the time to research and come up with answers that is somewhat unknown to many Chaldean and non-Chaldean as well. In addition, that I see myself, like, we live in this community of Michigan to be the homeland of the Chaldeans outside Iraq. Truly, like you said, I will allude to what you just mentioned. We are the largest, even larger than Iraq. Simply, if you're talking about the United States, 100%. Between here, Santiago, Arizona, and Chicago, we are the largest. We don't have the population, it will exceed 250,000 people here in the United States, if not far closer to 300,000. Now, in Iraq, this has become, like, as was mentioned in the book, when the first Chaldean that arrived here, and the patriarch, when they sent the first priest, he said, this is going to be Rock of Shamoun, Rock of Simon here in Detroit, without knowing, of course, the community will get that large. And that was in around the mid-1940s. So it is, and we are grateful to have an opportunity to come to such a great country, the United States of America, of course, which homed the many Chaldeans from the turn of the century, 1900, and continue to be the case. Slowed down in the past few years, but I think it's just picking up now, as those who are scattered all over the world, they start coming here, and not necessarily to Detroit being their home, but other states as well.
would you say is the biggest misconception about Chaldeans, or something that is important for people to know, especially historically?
I think, it's not by accident metropolitan Detroit became the largest concentration of the Chaldean community. I think there is certainly, I mean, the comfort and feel at home and privilege to be to join unite with your family is one of the advantages that that we have enjoyed over the years, because this is the in 1965 the issue of about family get reunited, and that helped the community a great deal. And joining, of course, there, you could if you are here first, you could, like myself and my family, my brother was able to go ahead and over time, over maybe 20 years time, I had 6 other brothers beside myself and my brother who was here first, Eddie, and he was able to all the brothers reunited in Detroit 19 years after he came to this to Michigan. So if it was not for the law was there, it would have been much more difficult for him to get the brothers here as well. So it's a blessing to have yes, large community. You have established churches, established associations, and that comes always like a helping hand when is needed to find a job, find a home, or helping you to break that isolation of being out of your homeland. So that helped a great deal, and certainly that became almost like a second home immediately after you arrived at Detroit, because you do feel at home, from the people that and being from the same town, and you could go to visit each other, and that breaks the ice and breaks the mold when you are out of your own homeland, to feel at home again when you see the people that your relative, your cousin, your immediate family. That all helpful, of course.
Yes, one of our cultural attributes that I love, we all feel a responsibility towards one another. It's like we feel like this duty, what we call in Arabic wajib, to take care of each other and to take care of. Now we're at a point after taking care of each other, I think, on a survival level, because of all the things that we had gone through in the oppression and most recently the massacres and all that. Now we are able to expand to a more cultural opportunities to share, and that's also a duty. This is again what we're talking about, but I think that's what makes the community very strong. Sometimes people wonder, how we were able to arrive to the point where we got to, and really it's because of unity. We have a strong sense of unity. We're very willing also to help others, but my personal viewpoint is that if you really take care of your own, then you would have less of a burdensome people for society.
Of course.
That it starts at the home. This is what we learned from a very young age. It really starts at the home, and then taking care of each other so that you don't have, you create a healthy society. And so this is a really a strong attribute that we have. What would you recommend, like some suggestion, because you have been here for a long time and you have accomplished great work. What are some of the suggestions that you have for people, whether in or outside of the community, about wanting to, voice themselves and doing it in a healthy way, such as you have through writing? A lot of people do feel oppressed, whether they are, whatever their backgrounds may be. A lot of people here in the United States feel that way as well. And what advice would you give them that would help them not only maybe express themselves, but also help heal their communities?
Life in general, and it's not about you come and just, you go to work, you come back, eat and drink and go to sleep. In my opinion, that every person, individual, certainly they have a role to play, whether in your own community, whether at work, church, wherever you are. I think you have a role to play. You should be connected to the outside world, outside of your inner circle, and connect in a sense that you feel as a part of much larger family, of your immediate family. So if let us apply to our community. if everybody just cared to come and work and be, happy with what they have and no link to anything else outside their family, we wouldn't have churches, we wouldn't have the organizations that we have, we wouldn't have the club we have, we don't have the social connection that we have, and we wouldn't have certainly the connection that we have with our other communities and the America in a larger form would be disconnected. We need to build that by us connecting ourselves to our other communities around us, whether it's in the area where we work, whether we live, or we have activities. So by starting with this, whether a church organization such as the one we have, or cultural center, or Ladies of Charity, all collectively contribute to see the community getting involved and participate in what goes around them. It's not about just yourself, it's about getting other people involved too. And that's always will lead to one thing. The stream will lead to build a strong community, well connected, and care for each other. So it's not about just a few individuals, it's about really a community at large. And when we feel part of the larger society, which is the American society. And we came here to be part of this melting pot, and yes, we have a unique distinction of being Chaldean, but we are proud Americans by all means, and this makes us who we are, and this is what to make America unique in many ways.
Yes, I totally agree with that. I agree that yes, you take care of your family, but not to exclude people that you can reach out to and get to know. And another thing that we also had talked about was that our series has expanded very, very quickly to include people that are non-Chaldeans, for the main reason that they are doing incredible things and somehow relate to us, whether they're Iraqis from last week we had a young lady, an Iraqi Australian, a writer who was sharing her story. And the wonderful thing about that is that we got to know her and the community in Australia. And she has like this very active Facebook group that she's gathering all these Iraqis from all over the world. And she got to learn about us. So it goes both ways. That's what happens when you open your door a little bit and then you get to know other people. And it could be really done in such a beautiful and peaceful and informative way. I feel that's what you try to do on a regular basis.
There's something that I do miss greatly, that, even though United States has the biggest concentration of Chaldeans, but there are certainly other areas of in the world that attracted and were just the Chaldeans settled maybe by default. Now it become a home to many, and including Australia, Canada, Sweden, England, France. Where I see there's a gap, the connection among these Chaldeans worldwide is lost. I feel bad that I cannot connect to the Chaldeans in Australia. Life connection through, maybe, I don't know whether there's an organization that could bind us, and so we get much closer to know, just like how it's the world becomes smaller and smaller. I have not felt it on the level where I could connect and be able to live how things are in let us say in Sydney, Australia, or even in let us say in Windsor, Canada. Other in Sweden, Stockholm, there's over 35,000 Christian there, and most of them are Chaldeans. This is something that I think we lack, that we were not at least not able to make the connection, so we could feel there's something bond us. We could communicate, and of course we do have some media that there's connection through the modern media, of course, but it's not enough. So I couldn't tell, like, my family's visitation, maybe traveling, having something common that they would invite them to come to the United States when there's let us say a big event has to do with the Chaldeans, whether history, culture, whatever that is still lacking. I hope and wish someday, the community, the organization will get together maybe and to establish and create I don't know if it's going to start with maybe building an organization that binds us all, more international than being local. That could be, something that I would truly look forward to see.
And it's really possible. When I was doing various research, I found out that we have the strongest, if not, well, I don't know if I can say only, but from my research, I found only the major Chaldean organizations here in Michigan. So we have the resources and we have the ability to do that. And it's a wonderful, wonderful idea. Do you think part of the reason why there seems like that scatteredness is because a lot of the communities that you mentioned might be more like refugees that, again, I mentioned earlier how a lot of the people are on survival mode, meaning that, they end up moving to a certain country forced out, and they're just kind of just trying to make the day-by-day living. They're not even really, I grew up not knowing that I'm Chaldean. I took my adult life when I was here in Michigan to understand what that even meant because of all the oppression that has gone from the land that we came from. And we've been here for a very long time. We arrived in February of 1981. So I imagine for a lot of the communities in other countries, do you think part of that is because there's a lot of Chaldean refugees around the world?
The fact that we have refugees does not give us an excuse not to be able to make the connection. I think myself, through a little bit of research that I have done, the new refugees and the people who are immigrated to a country like the United States or Australia or Sweden, I think they are better reader than average Chaldean American here. They read more. So you go ahead and let's say publish an article in Ankawa.com, for example. You would see that will be read by 25,000 people overnight. Here, go publish something anywhere. Will not be even read by 1,000 people. So does that tell you, to me, is inspiring that you are an immigrant, you still everything, the suffering, leaving Iraq, going to your new homeland. It's inspiring for you to get involved. Yes, I would agree with you that they need to look for their, of course, well-being and providing their family without a doubt. But they make time. And of course, being in the United States, everything is driven to be, work, making money, be able to, improve your living, whether better house, better car, better this and that, all permitted. Now, the fact that others have not paid as much attention, I think that it's a cultural issue. If we are in the United States, we're certainly exposed to a lot of things that other people are not. And I have visited people, outside of my United States, and how people live. When I travel, the enjoyment I see, it's me seeing how other people are living. And I see that, that variation or differences, that in the United States, everything comes in a large quantity. Water, look at this, it comes like a double, everything is large. And you go back in Europe, they got 2 tomatoes, 3 cucumbers, and you know what? I see that to be, of course, the culture of being here. And that could affect the people who are new immigrants that elsewhere that they have not paid as much attention. I would agree with you there, but should not stop us just because we are immigrants, and we should not, maybe the connection should be less important to us. I think is important to all. Some take more interest than others, just individual, depend on your drive. If you always liked something, you would copy. Your hobby doesn't die overnight just because you are too busy working or providing the means to your family. I think it's continued. Just might, you might put a little dim into it and make it a little bit not as flashy. But I do see that to be maybe an issue, but I think it could be inspiring motivation for others to connect to other Chaldeans elsewhere. If I'm here to somewhere else, if they are somewhere else, maybe to hear and connect to the Chaldeans, be interested in what they do and how they live, and go and visit them, and maybe, go, be part of their organization somewhat, somehow. So,
Okay, Jacob, right now, you totally convinced me. There is no excuse based on what you just said. I'm going to make a program just for that. How about that? Just for you, because that was so inspirational. What you said, it just it awakens the mind. It's like, wait a minute, yeah, why point that finger there? Hold on, I'll let you speak because my son is.
It's all good. It's all good. It's all good.
Okay, sorry.
As
you know, the kids are studying from school. And it's very funny because I said, I have an interview from 1 to 1:30. Do not come during that time. And as you can see, he listened very well. But you know, I really like what you just said. This is very important. So joking aside, you're right. It is our responsibility because I just said earlier how we have the resources, we have the organizations. There's really no excuse. It's a matter of just reaching out and creating the opportunity for us to connect. And this is just, I mean, right now I'm saying this like live on this Facebook. We really will put that effort. I think it's very important. And I think it's an area that's neglected.
Yeah. You know, it's awakening thing. I think myself that, you know what, we are, yes, we share a lot of history with not just the Chaldean, but the Assyrians as well. Those who are also scattered all over the world. We should make the initiative of reaching out to them as well. Even though it's a bit, there's some challenges in the way of and maybe of interest that is nationality versus this and that and activities. We might vary, but we are come from the same part of the world, and we do share a lot of history and making that connection and be able to visit and make you feel like you are second home if you are travel to see the Chaldean community elsewhere. I think it's certainly should be encouraged and should be taken to next level. I have not done my job, but I would be motivated to take a part in anything that might come down the line. So we feel like our community is much larger. It's not just limited to Michigan or to just the United States. You know what?
Yeah. And you know, we can't afford to limit ourselves either, given how small our community is to begin with. I mean, given what has happened over the years and the centuries and the decades, what has happened to our communities, we really can't afford to be separated and kind of get sometimes, you know, separate ourselves. And whether with Assyrians or other smaller communities, I mean, they've all gone through a lot of horrendous experiences, and they all have a lot of wonderful stories to share, and unity is always powerful. It's always a powerful tool to help us move forward and to tell our stories.
Correct.
You have, does Jacob Bacall have anything in the works? I mean, is there anything that is gonna come up in the future or that you're thinking to work on? We'd love to hear a little about that if there is, or is it?
You know, writing is a hobby, and I think you have yourself, you share a lot of the common ground of with those who love to write and participating in this, you know, culture interest. You know, you never stop, but every once in a while you wonder that, you know, you have a family and obligation, and I would tell you that it was a labor of love writing a book, especially if you write about your community that you love and adore. I see, but it taken away from work too. So I have every time you know, like the first book or the second book, the first book took a little bit maybe longer and more hours than the second book. So when you put 1,000 hours plus to something, you know, it certainly is going to take away from your work. And I'm still actively working, and I put my hours, and I do work more than 40 hours a week. And continue to still be active and produce in the way of in the field of my business. I do have this desire.
It looks like Jacob just got a call for right now, and we're gonna see if he's able to come back. It might be an important call that he had to take, but we are
Did I lose you?
just came back. Yeah.
So I do have a desire to write another book. I'm not quite sure if I could do it in you know, simply I need to make time. And my kids push me to take it more responsibility. I could devote the time to write one. And I know it's going to be about something to do with the clash of culture, but I'm not quite sure how I started, it's something to, it has to be.
I love it. I love it. You saw my eyebrows go up. Yes. It sounds interesting. Now, listen, we'll set a date where we will interview you on the book is going to be released, and that will give you a motivation, right? Like,
You know,
go to this book.
you know, every day,
Most of us, if not all of us, we live the clash, and we come from different background. Of course, for our children and our grandchildren would be different. Simply, they only know one world, and they live the world of their grandparents. So that might take them a little bit a journey to the past, but not, you know, we still live in the United States. I didn't come here to live the life of my old country. I adapt the new life here, and I try to be, but preserve what I always loved in my culture. So that was always, you know, something that inspired me to do something. But I do see there is a clash. I do see there's tremendous change in the community, second generation or first generation born here, and yet I need to devote time and efforts to make it a job, and I want to be good at it. The more time I spend, the better the result would be. So
that's right. And you know what? Thank you so much for your efforts into bringing awareness about the Chaldean community through your writing, and also with all your contributions. And I like what you said about this topic, and I really look forward to this book coming out, because this is the whole point, is us kind of navigating through our journey from coming from a place, you know, that has, where certain wounds were created, and kind of trying to acclimate and assimilate into the United States. And people like yourself and other pioneers have been great examples of how to do that. So that's why your stories are very, very important, because then we can have a glimpse, like, okay, yes, we went through this, but then we can come to the other side. And this is a great example, whether from yourself and even your family. I know, you know, some of your family members just really live the American dream, but there's a purpose behind that. And so I feel like you have a lot of wonderful messages to share. So I look forward to your next book coming out, so that we can have you back.
not too soon. I'm not too soon.
I'll still be waiting. It's okay. Well, it doesn't have to be too soon, because like you said, quality is more important, but whenever it happens, we look forward to it.
Thank you
so much for all your contributions, and for making time in your busy schedule to come and speak with us today.
Thank you, likewise. Yeah, yourself, you're a great contributor to the you know, community activities and affair that goes in the Cultural Center, and we certainly I see your name from time to time when there's to do with the community or Cultural Center or even the club. So your name pops up, and it doesn't surprise me a bit. Thank you.
Thank you. And yeah, this is the whole point. We really inspire each other. Everybody, when we contribute in our own ways, we are contributing to our community, to our homes, and to our community, and to ourselves, because we grow so much by doing these kind of works. So thank you, everybody, for watching. This interview is recorded, and it will be posted on our website and other social media outlets. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Likewise. Thank you. All right.